Hey everybody, and welcome back to COVID Chats, episode 41 here. I know it's been a little bit since episode 40 with Evan. Certainly some pretty crazy things have happened since that last episode. Luckily recovered well from that bike incident that I spoke about in the introduction to the last video. This one, a little bit different, not with somebody I connected through API. I know I've done a lot of those. But I love my brothers, what can I say? This episode is actually with someone I connected in a different way with. We connected, I know that I've used that word a bunch of times already in this introduction, but we connected through the YouTube comment section, which is a little bit of a different way of meeting someone. But I guess these days it's as good as any. And he left a comment on Adam Chanis's YouTube page upload from COVID Chat episode 6. An interesting connection with Adam. He knows somebody who knows Adam's mom and decided to watch Adam's COVID Chat. So whatever, we got to talking in the YouTube comment section, and then we spoke over email for a bit, and we took a while to actually schedule it, but I'm very grateful that we were persistent and we both made this happen, because I think it was a fantastic conversation, and we covered a lot of ground, and he has a perspective that you don't often hear from, it's kind of just, he's a regular guy, but he's got a lot of interests, and he brings a lot to the table, and looks at life and looks at this pandemic from sort of distinctly different perspectives. He's a writer, musician. He actually does a song for us on the Zoom, so maybe I'll make that the lead-in clip. We'll see, but yeah, it was really fantastic talking to him, and I think this was an episode you don't normally see with a guest who otherwise wouldn't be highlighted, and that's one of the joys of COVID Chats, is that I've been able to talk to people like Richard and people who I wouldn't have talked to otherwise and would never have known about and never have met. And just want to thank Richard again for taking the time to speak to me. And I hope you enjoy the episode. And if you do, leave a comment, because hey, you might be my next guest. Hello, Richard, and welcome to episode 41 of COVID Chats.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you for having me on this program, and it's truly an honor and pleasure to be with you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. It is really, it's awesome to have you here. I think that our connection and this COVID chat is particularly interesting because I don't know how many people connect through a YouTube comment section. I think that's a pretty uncommon way to find a guest for a video series. So I find this whole thing sort of fascinating. And it's a pleasure to have you. You have a very diverse background, and I'm excited to get into it.
Thank you.
So yeah.
And I think it was through Adam Khanes that the conversation kind of and
exactly.
We kind of got connected.
Right, you left a comment on my childhood friend Adam Chanis's COVID chat, and know through a friend, his mother. And it just shows me, it's a crazy world. It is really a small world in that way.
Yeah. I was supposed to be there in March.
Right, I know. I'm sorry about that. But it's a good thing you weren't in New York in March, because it wasn't a good place to be. As somebody who was there. So what do you think that, the power of YouTube and our connection through that, what do you think that says maybe about just the current state of communication and interconnectedness in the world? I mean, of course, this is a very positive thing, but, a lot of people like to talk about all the negatives of the internet and how it's dividing people. So maybe how do you feel about those two ways of looking at it?
I think it's positive and it's negative. It has got its, drawbacks, but depends who is doing it. Like for India, we have been using the media very much it's heading in the wrong direction. So it can be this, but I believe it's the person who's sitting down and who's speaking. I think it's just like an actor. When you're an actor,
Right.
I mean, what you portray it's very, very important. For me as a director, my actor is speaks for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's so I think it's your program. Like for instance, you do something on YouTube or any of the media. So it's important who's doing it.
Right.
So it can be very beneficial, and I find it,
Yeah.
especially at this time, at this juncture,
Right.
especially at this juncture, very, very important.
Certainly. Now more than ever, we need
Of
we need
course,
positivity online. We need people to be genuine and thoughtful
genuine.
and willing to connect with people they don't know. I mean, that's the cornerstone of the program. Was I wanted to have conversations with people I didn't know as well, and to bring new voices on. And I think there's sometimes this thought that either interview programs or just conversations online, it's all about getting a super high profile guest, this big name, an Elon Musk, a Joe Rogan. It's like, I think everyone has an interesting story if you're willing to
Correct.
listen. And
Correct.
sometimes it requires asking certain questions and
Yes.
asking for a bio beforehand, so you can open somebody up if they're maybe a little more introverted, or if there's a language barrier, or if there's any things that would make a conversation a little bit harder. But just because you have to work a little bit more doesn't mean that the underlying story
Totally.
and the history of the person isn't as interesting as any famous person or any well-known person. So
So true.
yeah, so really, truly a pleasure to have you on. And something else that was an interesting parallel between the two of us, as we were going back and forth trying to schedule this thing, is that we both had to seek medical attention during this whole pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what the situation was like for you in Mumbai dealing with that leg
Very,
surgery.
very, very, very difficult. Very, very,
Yeah.
very difficult. It was like totally unexpected. I had a leg infection and I had to go for a surgery.
Mm,
And here, at least here in Mumbai, it's very bad.
right.
The situation is not good at all. And being the hospitals being all mostly converted into COVID centers, it becomes very difficult for the person going in,
Right.
and then they don't even accept you. And if you're going in, then you're going with a big risk.
Right.
But it was an experience for me, and difficult, but
Right.
I went through it,
Right.
and it was good.
Did they test you
Yeah.
beforehand? Did they give you
Yeah,
the nasal swab? Yeah.
no, that was a problem because I had to go for the surgery immediately. If I didn't,
Oh
my
wow.
leg would get bad every single hour or 2 hours.
Oh.
So the doctor said, I can't take you in, Richard, because, you are you've not done you have to do a COVID test. I said, but it takes 72 hours to just get
A result.
no, not result, to get an appointment.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah. And then after that, the result will come after 2 or 3 days. So I
Right.
can't wait for 4 or 5 days, doctor.
It's too much. It's too much.
I just sent him a message. I said, I don't know what to say, what this world has become into. And it's something very, I don't know. I said, I just leave it up to you.
Mm,
What you feel, the state of my leg. So
right.
anyway, he took the risk of taking me in without doing, but because he would have lost his license if somebody would have come there.
Right.
He was he knew somehow, I don't know why, but he said, no, you just come, and but you have to do the test there and there immediately
Mm,
during the treatment. We'll start your treatment, but there and there you do a test, and then we'll check you. But I know he was very, very skeptical, because with me, my brother came, my friends, 2 3 friends came. They were all allowed without going to doing a test. And I did my test, and for 2 days he was just on his every time he used to come, he used to have a very low kind of spirit. But the third day he came and he hit me on my leg where I had my surgery, and he said, We have got very good news. You're clear.
Uh,
So that's it. So
wow.
it was good of him being kind, taking me
Yes.
in, and I came out.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm very happy you were able to get treated. I mean, that's, of course, COVID has been such an immense complication for so many
Yes.
people, but especially people who have had other health issues, either things that have cropped up, like this
Yeah.
thing with the
Yeah.
leg,
Yeah.
and then everything else. Like, for a little bit, it almost felt like everyone forgot that every other health issue was still around. It was all COVID, 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 but it's like, people still need treatment. There's still the common cold. There's still this. There's still that. There's still everything, and we have to do our best to be able to
But I
have
think,
access to it.
but I think even you went through a situation.
I did, yes, and mine was very interesting because I got taken. So I didn't have an appointment. I got hit by a car while I was riding my bike. Very, very thankfully, it wasn't so bad, but they still took me to the hospital, to the emergency room in an ambulance right away. And as soon as I got into the hospital, immediately COVID test up the nose. I'm masked. Everybody's masked. They're all around me. They're poking, they're prodding, they're flipping me over. I mean, I felt like I was being cooked almost. Um, the medical attention was excellent. Was excellent. I cannot say that enough. But that's also in part because the hospital that I went to is actually right next to the NIH, the National Institute of Health, and this hospital and the NIH are where some of the premier COVID testing is being done. Like these are some of the big facilities, along with the CDC in Atlanta, and of course other places in America and around the world as well. But these two hospitals and medical facilities is where there's a lot of COVID attention being done. So as a result, they had both a test for me instantly, and then they had the results in like 20 minutes. So they were able, it was incredible. I'd never had that kind of turnaround on any medical test of any kind. So they were able to give me top tier medical treatment despite the pandemic. But I got very lucky just with the proximity of the hospital and where the accident happened. Of course, all over America and all over the world, that's not the case. You know, and thankfully I had good health insurance, right? I mean, in America, that's such a
Big,
luxury.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What's the health insurance situation like in Mumbai? Is it
In
private health
Mumbai,
insurance?
yeah, yeah, it's private.
It's all private.
It's
It's all
nothing like what the US is. It's
right.
totally different game altogether.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'm very glad that everything worked out. The leg feels totally good. You're good.
totally good.
Excellent. Okay.
I hope I can go back to Poland soon and finish off my work. What I'm planning to start actually.
Right. Yeah. I hope
Almost,
so too.
I've started it, but I have to still kind of complete it.
Right. Can you do
Uh,
any of it virtually or not? Not really.
no, no, not really, not really. I have to go to the location and do some compositions there.
Right.
I'm already working on it, but
Right.
I have to be there to
Right.
Zamosh.
So speaking a little bit to more of, who you are and things that you're interested in, in your bio, you talked to me about the fact that you're a student of musicology and Indian, Western classical music, and you're also
Yeah,
into Sephardic Mizrahim
Safed
Piyutim,
Mizrahi. Yeah.
which, I can't say I'm so knowledgeable about, but I would love to hear more about it from you. And if you've been, what has been music's role for you during the pandemic? Have you been trying to create more at home, playing any instruments, or have you been watching a lot of these Zoom performances, live streams, and things like that? Or has it been hard to be creative? Because I know for some people it's been very difficult to try to think or perform or act creatively because there's so much stress and pressure on other aspects of our lives.
No, I think for me, it was both, watching and playing and doing it, performing it myself at home. In fact, when I had this pain with my leg, I was constantly singing Pew theme.
Ah,
Even in the hospital, I was doing that.
mm,
And yeah, though I didn't have an instrument in the hospital, but
right,
I was just doing something. But as soon as I came back home, I started with my guitar with my Arabic ney, because I play the Arabic ney, which is very unique to play the Mizrahi Sephardic
Oh, wow.
music, yeah, it's so you can play the maqam because it's based on the maqam system.
Hmm.
Most of the Mizrahi music from Egypt or Syria, Aleppo, especially Aleppo, are very much influenced by the music of the Aleppo Jewish community,
Hmm.
which right now is in Brooklyn, and they have a very unique way of doing the pizmonim, the bakashots.
Hmm.
So I'm very much into that from almost about 5 years or 6 years.
Hmm.
And I had my friend from New York, Daphna Moore, who's a very well-known ney player and recorder player, who would come down to India, and we did a pure team workshop with our local Jewish community here.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so nice.
So
Would you like to play anything? You want to play anything quickly or no? Not
I
right now.
I would like to. I mean, for you and me, I think I would like to, play my favorite blessing. It's a Shekianu.
Please.
You know, I'll do
I,
that
I,
on the guitar.
I'd love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way that we do the Shekianu through all the festivals. But for me, I do it maybe sometimes every day because I
Really?
think it's yeah because uh, it's about keeping us alive, and sometimes we take life for granted.
Hmm.
I mean, I could go outside and come back home. How do I know I may come back home alive?
It's true.
And we have been safe and we are still alive during this dangerous time. I think it's because of God's blessings.
Hmm.
So
Beautiful.
this is a thing which I kind of partly composed it myself, but more in the Mizrahi way,
Mm-hmm.
not the Ashkenazi way. But well,
Sure.
I tried. I was influenced by Craig Tobman's version. Craig
Okay.
Tobman
I,
from the US.
I'll probably recognize it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have the
yeah,
Ashkenazi roots over here, so
yeah. Basically, like I said about my great grandfather, was also from Poland,
right, Polish Jewish.
Polish Jewish. So this is Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech haolam Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Richard. I was tempted to sing along while you were singing, but the issue with doing that with Zoom is then it's gonna it turns to me and it mutes you. It's hard to do the same at the same time singing synchronous. But
So this was for both of us that we kept us alive and brought us through the season.
yes,
So that's why we are meeting today and we are speaking to each other.
that's a beautiful
Correct?
thing. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So speaking to other sort of creative interests that you have, I mean, you're really a multifaceted person with the writing, the filmmaking, the photography. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Raised as a Christian, but as you said, also with Polish
Yeah.
Jewish
Jewish
roots. How is this background of yours, this incredibly diverse background, how does it make you feel about what's going on in the world right now, and especially in light of the pandemic? Do you do you view it through a single lens, or do all of these different aspects of your life sort of come together? Like,
I
what are your
think
feelings on it?
I think it has helped me a lot with this diverse background. I think it has helped me pretty much well.
Mm,
And whether it's the Jewish community or it's coming from the Christian community. In fact, many from the Christian community want, suddenly there's a big surge in learning Hebrew or getting back to their roots of
mm,
knowing, more about, because for them it's like, okay, now they realize that it comes from
right,
Judaism.
right, right. The
It's
Old
Judo,
Testament and the New.
Judeo,
Right,
yeah, Judeo Christianity.
right.
So,
Mm,
I kind of contribute by sharing with them, or maybe teaching them something. And during this time, I managed to able to do that,
mm,
and especially also when it comes to the Shoah,
mm,
how
sure,
the church, how anti-Semitism came
of course.
into play. So it does give me a kind of an edge also to
Mm,
speak to them, and also in a way speak to the Jewish community. So during this time, it has helped me tremendously
mm,
through music and films,
right.
both
Mm.
for me, both are go hand in hand.
And I see in the background, I see those the Shabbos candles that you have
Uh,
lit over there. Um,
uh,
where are you religiously right now? Do you practice more of the Judaism? Were you going to church, before the pandemic?
mm,
No,
mm,
or do you just sort of, is it
I
holistic, a
think
little bit of both?
the church thing had stopped long. I mean, I was never interested in going to church when
Okay.
I was growing up.
Right.
Somehow I never felt connected. In fact, my mother is a Brahmin, Hindu Brahmin, so I was more drawn towards her thing than even Christianity.
Mm,
I was never really drawn towards Christianity as
mm,
such, and I never had any Christian friends also,
right.
frankly. So, but it was in 1993. After I knew something about my grandfather coming from Poland. I had some certificates about his death certificate, 18, almost 1885,
Mm,
from during the time of the British. He had come here.
right.
He was working for the English press,
Mm,
and I came to know about it. And I don't know. I had this when I went to see the Schindler's List in 1993. It was that film that kind of actually triggered me to sit back and ponder on things and wonder. And
mm,
like, and I started going back, doing some study, and then in 2000 I went to the community and actually joined the community. I started spending time at the community center,
mm,
and wanting to learn Hebrew, but we didn't have anything really great going on here when
right.
it comes to Hebrew. But that kind of, so I kind of returned back, and I
Mm,
have been kind of involved in mostly into Judaism. But the community here is very, it's a little different. It's a
right.
little different. Like, for instance, for them the Shoah is a very distant thing,
Mm,
because
sure.
they say, for, I don't know. For me, the Shoah was a very personal. I don't know, because whenever we used to have these volunteers coming down from the US
Right.
through the JDC, I connected with them immediately,
Mm,
and they said, "How do you connect with the Holocaust?" I said, I mean, so I don't know, but that's how my kind of things regarding a lot of things opened up, and
mm. Yeah,
and
American Jews certainly have a very personal connection with the Shoah and with the
connection.
Holocaust. And many of us, of course, have or had family
Have
members that
family members. Yeah,
either escaped during the war, before the war, survived the war, or perished in the war. And I think as a result, yeah, it's very personal here. There's a really direct connection, as opposed to a sort of maybe a little more of a removed historical one. you've heard about it, but maybe you don't know so much about it, which I think, many people around the world, that's just how it is, especially as we get further and further from it, right? I mean, I think that's why we say never forget. We always try to think back. And so as someone who is very intimately now involved in the Shoah and teaching about it and talking about it, how do you feel? And, maybe this is a hot button, sort of political issue, but there's been other genocides since the Shoah. I mean, I'm Jewish, so of course, and you're, of course, the Shoah is very personal to us. But there's other genocides going on, and I think it's our responsibility to speak out against them and to not even just speak, but to try to do something, as well.
So that's why that is why Elie Wiesel has been a very great influence in my life, because I think he was the person who brought out these issues about Darfur and many other, Bosnia and things like that, which it was not just a Jewish thing, it's something to do with mankind.
Absolutely.
To do with human being.
And he was active up until his death. He was writing, he was speaking. It was something very important to him.
For me, I have always a debate with a lot of my Jewish friends about Armenia.
Sure.
About Armenia, because Armenia was the first genocide, if you could say, in the 20th century.
Yeah.
It was not the Shoah.
Right.
But till today, Israel has not accepted officially.
Right.
In the US, I think so. Just lately, I think they kind of accepted, but but Israel has not accepted the genocide officially. So that's yeah.
How about the one that we have going on right now? I mean, maybe it's not classified as a genocide, but what we have going on in China with the Uyghur Muslims.
Correct.
I mean,
correct.
Yeah. I mean, of course, it's so hard to know exactly what's going on inside of China, and if they're quote unquote exterminating people, but certainly the slave labor and the camps. I mean, they're on the way. What can we do? I mean, me as an American, you as a citizen of India, I mean, do we need a global effort? I mean, China is such a strong power, and it's so hard to know what's real, what's not, what information is reliable. What can we do to try to prevent this and to try to help the situation a little bit? Any ideas?
For me, I could do through music, through music or poetry, and speak to them about it. And even to the people who are going through it. For instance, in our own country also, the situation is not that great,
Right.
In India, it's not that great. So I feel that's very, very important. And if you're speaking about the Uyghurs, they are tremendously gifted in music. In fact, I have done a small study about their music and their system, which is very much similar with the kind of music that we have in the Sephardim structure, because they were connected during the Silk Route thing.
Very interesting. Yeah, I did not know that.
Samarkand and from Afghanistan to this whole area.
Right. I mean, it was massive.
That whole belt. So the music, if you hear, is very much similar. Their chants and very, 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 very much similar. So you can relate with the pain, that they have been. Some of the musicians have been trying to portray it through, and though there is a big ban on them even performing, kind of performing also.
Where did you do? Was this a written study you did? Was this sort of a film?
No. I did a written study, and I was interacting with some musicians who had gone there.
Okay.
Who had gone to the city under some special provisions and had spoken to people and done their research. So it's like that.
So speaking a little more contemporarily, I'm curious for you in particular, as someone who was in Mumbai, when did COVID for you become a reality? Do you remember like the date or time? Because I feel like now that we've moved, we're 6 months, 5 months from when things became real, at least for us here in America, I feel like everyone had a different moment where they were like,
Yeah.
everything changed. Do you remember that moment
For me, the
for you?
moment was
Yeah.
May, June, you know,
Mm.
and that's the time I almost fell sick after that. 15,
Oh,
20 days, I fell sick. And then I literally could see the effect of it, how a normal person, I mean, I was fortunate that I could pull some strings, because in India it's very very difficult, and many people have gone through hell here,
mm,
especially the the so-called migrant laborers who went from Mumbai and had to go, and many of them died on their way.
mm,
So it was during that time actually I got, I kind of felt, there is, I mean, the presence. Otherwise, so 2 3 months was like, okay, I was going out and doing things,
right,
bringing things, and going out and coming back. So
right.
it was not really a big deal. I was doing some of my programs, but then the frustration started coming in.
Mm,
When I came back from the hospital, then it became worse.
right,
Well, I couldn't move out. I
mm,
couldn't sit properly.
right.
But I said no. I've got to kind of. So it was again my music that kind of got me back on my feet.
Mm, the
Uh,
power of music.
yeah, yeah, the power of music and the power of your theme and
Mm.
Pismodium. And yeah,
That's pretty incredible. May or June, was pretty, I mean, at least for me, that's pretty late, for March 13th in
yeah,
Manhattan
yeah,
was like
Manhattan.
the switch flipped, and it was like the
Yeah,
NBA season got canceled, all these festivals in New York and around the country were canceled. We
yeah.
were getting all this crazy messaging, and suddenly it was lockdown. It was such a quick switch that was flipped.
No, yeah, there was a lockdown, but yeah, April, May, people were still thinking, is it really such a serious thing? They're asking me, Richard, is this true?
Wow.
Is like, because people here were not, I mean, most of them have not, they don't want to sit down and even kind of think about it,
Right.
because it's like, your day to day business. But when the business really got affected and when they started seeing people falling on the road,
Mm. Yeah.
just dropping off and then
Wow.
taken to hospitals, and then suddenly there are a kind of fear came into people, and
Wow.
then it became a big problem. Why? Because in India we have a caste problem. As it is, we have a caste problem.
Right.
So when you say social distancing, I mean, we can't use this word in India.
Mm,
It would create a big problem. We can't
mm,
use this word
mm.
because already there is a kind of a caste system here.
Right. There already is social distancing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Like
it's
for
bad.
instance,
It's bad. It's even
yeah,
worse social distancing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Much worse. Much worse.
So here it started happen. It started creating a bad problem with many people in especially the older generation people.
Mm,
So it brought out some very bad, some really very, I mean, nauseating things.
right. Old
The,
feelings that were being,
yeah, yeah,
regurgitated.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
So what was the terminology that the government used or health officials used instead of social distance?
No, they were using this only. But then, when you say social distance, what is the meaning of this? Is that you have to keep your
Right.
distance,
Physical
social,
distancing.
physical distance.
Right. Right.
They were so, but
Mm,
people were used to that kind of, so and it became like a kind of a stain, yeah, especially with the older generation. So they
mm,
had a big problem,
mm.
and some people were beaten. Like for instance, there was a a family that was traveling by car, and they were just going from one city to another city, and they were literally lynched and beaten on the road because
Wow.
they wanted to go inside
For
that place.
traveling, for moving around.
Traveling. So
Wow.
it became that, because they were fearing that maybe they're having COVID
Right,
and
and
they're
they're
coming
spreading it
inside.
around. Right, right.
Yeah, so they were kind of spread, So it became
Wow.
that. I mean, you understanding what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It became very very ugly, very ugly.
that's frightening.
So,
That's very
and
frightening.
frightening, yeah, very frightening. So if tomorrow I come to know somebody in my building gets COVID, the whole building is locked down.
Wow.
It's like
How,
that,
how many people are in your building?
about say about 50,
50.
50, 55.
Mm.
So if one person gets, that means that all the members are under lockdown. So it
Right.
was frightening.
Right. You guys all share
So
the same elevator, or you all take the stairs together? How do
some take the stairs, some take the elevators.
Right, right. For when it
So
was happening in New York, my dad was like, "Nobody take the elevator. We're taking the
yeah,
stairs." Yeah,
stairs, correct.
right. And taking the stairs. Good exercise and no shared small
No
space
stairs,
or anything.
stairs, yes.
So, what's the situation like now in Mumbai? Is it
Mm,
better? Are there more tests? Are people taking it more seriously?
now you could say they are off the serious mark. Now it's like they're tired. It's like we're tired. It's like gone the other way now. It's
Yeah.
tired now. Now let's see now what happens.
Like,
And because now business is important. Now we have
right,
to start off. It's
right.
too much. So they are planning to start the schools next month, but I don't think it's going to work here.
Yeah.
It won't work here. It won't work in
It won't
India. It
work
will not work.
anywhere. I mean, in
Because the
America, they've
children.
already been shutting down colleges that were open for,
Yeah,
2 weeks.
correct,
All these kids
correct.
are getting COVID.
COVID.
Mm.
So it's like that. So you don't know, like, no, it's becoming, and people just want to kind of they're tired. They're tired.
Mm.
Like, for instance, I want to go out. Actually, I want to go out of,
Okay.
like go maybe to another place in India, but I can't go out.
Mm.
I can't because of the complications.
Right, right. It's such a
And
hard thing, I want to get out too, and you know, I- for this kind of virus, we really need everyone in the community to be on the same page,
same page.
and it doesn't seem. I mean, there are only like one or two countries where they were really able to do that. It seems like New Zealand was kind of able to do that.
Correct.
South Korea was able to do that.
South Korea, correct.
But there's not that many other. I mean, Japan to a
No.
certain extent, but they had a spike too. So
Germany was doing it, but then again, it's all messed up.
right, and
Yesterday.
there's all this. People see all this messaging online about, oh, it's not real, or it's not as serious as it needs to. We're taking it too seriously, or we're hurting the economy more than the virus would be hurting us. It's like there's no one way that people want to handle it, and young people just want to go outside. They want to have a nice summer here in America, especially. I see people out all the time, so it's very difficult.
Difficult. And many people here who are on the on the lower strata, they kind of say, no, it's better that we die of COVID than die of hunger. So it's like better that no, it's because it's difficult for some of them.
Of course.
They can't, because it's daily labor.
Right.
It's very difficult. I can understand the issue.
Such a sad reality that the dying of hunger is such a reality for so many people, that
so many people.
COVID becomes the preferred option. It's just it's like something I'm saying it, but I can't even begin.
No, correct. Can't fathom what is hunger.
Yeah.
What is hunger?
Yeah, the only hunger I know is Yom Kippur or Tisha B'Av. It's one day.
Yeah. So that's the
Yeah.
We are very fortunate. Yeah, correct. We are very fortunate to even now speak to one another. There are many people who want to speak and who can't speak to people also. I know of cases. So.
Well, any further thoughts on this whole pandemic and what you've been doing during it? Is there anything that's come up either in your line of work or your personal life that has changed your perspective, or something you've been working on during this, or have you just been sort of just trying to
for me, it's I just want to it has given me time to reflect on many things that I was seeing it in a way that I can see it now in a very different way, especially my films, my writing,
right,
and it's my whole perspective has changed on certain issues, and I can't say for good or for bad, whatever it is part of life, and it's a fact.
It is,
and it's part of our history right now. It's going to be part of a very important part of our history, which will never be forgotten.
Right.
And I would like, and so we are trying to, like, here a community is trying to have the limud actually
Mm,
in November. I don't think so it's possible.
we'll see.
I don't know if it's possible or no to have a limud in November. It's too soon.
That what limud is an election? What
No,
is
no,
that?
limud is a Jewish learning. No, they have
Oh,
these
oh, to learn, okay, okay,
limud,
yeah.
Limmud, limud.
Yeah, yeah. Lamed, Yud, Mem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Limud.
I
It's
had
an
a feeling
inter.
that's what you were saying, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, yeah. We have these programs every year through Limud. It's a UK-based program
Oh, okay.
where we have different Jewish topics
Right.
chosen. So
Are they going to do it online, maybe?
no, they were planning to do it, but November they're saying we would like to meet. So
Oh,
now
okay.
they were so next month they're going to do a taste of limo that's going to be online.
Mm,
so so I don't know.
mm,
We have to just see what happens, but I think whatever we come out with will be something. I don't know.
right, right,
We can't say because we don't know whether we'll be out in November or we won't be out in November or
right,
December
right. It's so
or
hard to
January.
plan. It's so hard to plan
Plan,
for the future. We just
plan.
don't know how things are going to be. And yeah, I think what you mentioned before about, this is going to be, this is history that we're living through, and
History.
we're going to remember it for a long time. I think it could be an interesting project, and I don't want to give you work, but you know, it, oftentimes history can be sort of warped, and what we read in a textbook isn't necessarily what happened. I mean, it's part of the reason that I've done these COVID chats as well, is just try to document people's feelings and get real stories and get
Real stories.
the facts out there, so to speak. So I don't know if you've been doing any documentation or anything like that, or trying to take pictures or do a vlog, a daily video or something.
Yeah, I've been doing that. I've been trying to compare. That day I went to town
Mm,
in Mumbai, where normally it's the most beautiful place, and it's not changed for years, because it was still the British structures, what the British made, it's
mm,
still there. So I went and I said, let me go out because that's a place that used to give me joy. And I went with my friend in the car and I just sat down. But as soon as I entered, I you could literally see nobody there.
right,
And it was for me, it was like a very sad feeling. So I said, but I need to document this. I said, I need
yes,
to document this
yes,
because I have documented a lot of things when Mumbai was normal.
right,
Always very crowded. If
right,
you want
right.
a crowd, you don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah, come to
Mumbai is
Mumbai.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And now it's the total opposite.
right, right.
And like something like what you're doing, I think it reminds me of when I was reading the book of Samuel Casso, who wrote who will write a history,
Mm,
the film that was made.
yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I have heard of it. I'll,
Fantastic.
I'll put it on my list to
Yeah,
check out.
yeah, yeah. It was based on the Warsaw Ghetto.
Oh, okay. Who will write our history?
Yeah, who will write
Yeah,
a history
I've definitely heard of
based on Emmanuel Ringelbaum.
it. So I'd like to end my COVID chats with this question, which is, what are you looking forward to most when this is over? What are a few things you're looking forward to getting back to?
Want to finish my I wouldn't say film. It's not good. I don't now really I don't know whether it's going to be made into a film also, or
Okay.
whether it's going to be made into a kind of a musical, or whether it's going to be made like I was telling you about this young boy I kind of met in when I went for the March of the Living in 2019.
Right.
The 4-year-old boy who I met through this yellow candle,
Mm,
Shimon Vector. So when I go back again, I wanted to kind of go back, and because surprisingly, I managed to get his birth certificate
mm,
from Zamosh.
mm,
From Zamosh, I managed to get his birth certificate and managed to connect myself to his family, some of his surviving family. whom one is a very good friend of Adam Khanes.
Right.
I was talking to you about.
Right. Right.
So she is a vector also,
Mm.
Mahali vector, and so we were planning to do a exhibition there of a mother there. So I don't know
Right.
how we're trying to incorporate something about Shimon,
Mm.
this boy who died in Belzec. He died
Right.
with his mother in Belzec, in the Belzec that camp on 18th October 1945. So I want to go there and compose something on the grounds of the camp and in the street that he used to live and may have walked around,
Mm.
as a 4-year-old boy. So I don't know right now, because of this situation,
Right.
whether it's going to be made into a film or whether it's going to be made into a play or whether it's going to be made into a musical or just one big painting. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it's that is something I would like to do, because I feel I there is, I mean, there is a total unrest in me to go back and do this. That's the first place I want to run actually to Zamość in Poland.
Right. Go to a place with some history and some. Unfortunately, I mean, such an awful thing the Shoah is, but because it's so important that we remember it and that we create beautiful art that tells people's stories. It's an important place to go. It's not necessarily the first place people would want to go after a pandemic is run to a historical site of a horrible event in history, but it is so important that
no. Yeah, for me it's become a very important part of my life.
Right.
It's very important.
I'm glad you are interested in it and invested in it, and you are committed to creating something from it, even though I know you're not sure exactly what it will be. I think whatever it does become, a play, a movie, just the story, I'm sure it will be beautiful and commemorative, and I look forward to viewing it whenever it is ready to go.
Thank you.
And I think if you have the determination, like we both did, to make sure that this COVID chat happened, it will definitely happen. It will get done.
True. But I thank you because you kind of really also. Yeah, I thought like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I know.
It's like, so, but here we are today talking, and we managed to at least do it.
We did.
Thank you.
Good for us. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful Shabbos, and I will we'll stay in touch. I'll let you know when I post it. Should be in a day or two.
And we'll keep in touch, and hopefully whenever I come to the US,
yes,
we can definitely meet up.
You should come hang out, and I'm gonna send this to Adam. I can't wait for him to check it out. I'm sure he's gonna love it. Him and his mom are gonna love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, Richard.
Bye.